Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, today we are doing a reading vlog. The month's almost ending. There's a little over a week left in the month and I haven't done a reading vlog this month. And can you stop scratching yourself? Like I said, I haven't done a reading vlog this month and I try to do at least once a month. So that's what we're doing today. The last video that I uploaded was a book haul, a bunch of ebooks that I got for the Stuff Your Kindle event. If you're not familiar with the event, it's already passed. There'll be another one soon, but I basically a bunch of romance authors, indie self-published romance authors, put their books up for free to download on Amazon, and I got about a little over 25 new ebooks in my collection, and so I thought it'd be great to tackle some of them in a reading vlog. They're romances, they're not very long, so I think it'll be fun. Most of these authors I've never read before. Maybe these authors are new to you as well. It's gonna be a romance vlog. If that's not your thing, maybe this reading vlog's not for you, but yeah, I don't know what I'll start with. I have a few chores to do, but I will come back when I have a book started or if I want to talk about something. So yeah, I'll be right back. Is this a good angle? No. Anyways, so I did finish my first book and I didn't update you. I just noticed I kind of just read a book and now I'm telling you about it. The book that I just finished reading, technically I finished it last night, but I didn't want to update at 2 in the morning, was Ruthless King by Alison Ames. And I'm surprisingly, I liked it. Surprisingly. This is like a darker sci-fi romance with a lot of mafia elements as well. This is not a book that I typically would like because there's just a lot of stuff in here that I kind of tend to avoid in general. The first thing is that it is that very tried and true but still all reliable mafia prompt. The whole my father has debts plotline and I'm being sold to like another mafia family to like pay off his debts, that kind of thing, which is it's always like, it's very ridiculous and campy and over the top, but if it works, it works. And we see it all the time. So that's like the main like instigating or inciting element of the story, but there's also like another backstory going on, so like mafia family drama as well. But this is also in a sci-fi setting, so it doesn't really take place like on Earth or anything, but you honestly wouldn't notice that if you're like hesitant to read sci-fi romance. They're technically aliens, but there's nothing like overtly alien, at least for the main two characters. One of our characters does get like psychic visions, but it feels more like fantasy, like fantastical, than sci-fi. So that's genre, that's the kind of plot that we're going for. It is an alpha hero, which I don't typically read from. They're very frustrating to me, and usually they're really frustrating to me, and it takes a lot for me to kind of have like some sort of compassion for them, just because more often than not when I read a book with a hero like this, I feel like I have to turn off like the feminism in my brain, because some of these guys are rough, let me tell you. And I don't mean like in a physical sense, but like as well as that, like a part of my brain's like, run the other way, girl, because this is not worth it. But you know, I know people kind of like that domineering kind of type, and I do think that the author did enough for me to kind of put that aside, my personal feelings aside, on this type of man, like IRL, to enjoy the story. What else? Also, did not know, but this does have ABO dynamics, which I assume most dedicated romance readers are already somewhat familiar with alpha, beta, omega dynamics in romance. If you don't know what that is, I'm probably not the best person to explain it to you, because I've only read like 2 or 3 things that have those elements. But just know that in ABO romances, every person typically falls under a certain class of either alpha, beta, omega, and that greatly affects their personalities and their like sexuality, I guess. But look it up if you've never read it before. I'm not the best at explaining that. It also has that, again, which I don't typically read. It's always like a little strange to me, but I still had fun. It was still like entertaining and really readable. And I guess like the best thing about this book was I don't expect the best editing or proofreading or anything like that with self-published indie authors, which I've never heard of this author, but I'm assuming that she is self-published or indie or whatever. Mostly because I know those services, specifically editing, can cost a lot of money, multiple edits. So I don't have the highest expectations, nor do I want to put that on an author who's, I don't think this is her debut, but like for any like self-published author. So I thought this was actually pretty well edited. I'm not the best person to critique writing and like craft and structure and all that kind of stuff. That's like the last thing that I pay attention to personally, but that was something that I did notice here, how well the story progressed alongside the romance, and I never felt like there was like a dud in the book. I thought it was really well done in terms of like writing, really readable in general, which is why I read through all of it before I even told the vlog that I was reading this book. So yeah, I'd probably give it 4 stars, and deducting a star mostly because, again, there's just a part of me of these types of stories that I can't always like 100% love, but I think 4 stars is still like a pretty good like rating. So yeah, that's my first book. As for what I'll read next, there was a book that I really wanted to start, which was called The Sons of Echidna by Athena and Bliss. This one reminded me similar plot wise to The Lady of Rooksgrave Manor, which is one of my most favorite like spicier romances that got some popularity at some point. This one is about a young woman, I don't know her name, but she gets a job for what she thinks is like a nanny position, like a live-in nanny position, but she's actually just taking care of a bunch of like monsters at some, I guess, home mansion. I'm not really sure the setting, but, and I think it's like a why choose romance, maybe. It sounds fun. The cover is really pretty and really cute, so we're gonna try that, and I'll come back when I want to update the vlog. But that's pretty much it. Oh, and obviously the Ruthless King book was like very, very spicy. A lot of sexually explicit language and content, mentions of like rape and stuff. So yeah, I'm assuming that most of these romances that I picked up from the Stuff Your Kindle day are gonna be like explicit in some way or another, but I'll let you know if it's clean. It probably won't be though, so don't like get your hopes up. But yeah, also I got my glasses finally. I love them. I can finally see clearly. I haven't had a eye exam in like 7 years, so it was pretty bad. I really couldn't see well. This is the first pair, and it's like a brown like tortoise. You can't really tell in this lighting. And then this is like a more navy color, and I promise they're different even though they look like really similar. But yeah, I look a mess because I woke up like 30 minutes ago, but I did want to update the vlog because I did finish reading a second book, The Sons of Echidna by Athena and Bliss. This one was not my cup of tea. Usually for my ratings, I reserve 1-star ratings for books that I don't think anyone should read. So even though I really did not like this, I don't think it's worthy of a 1-star in my personal rating system. So I'm gonna go with like a 1.52 star. This book is about a young woman who is looking for a job, and she answers an ad that she thinks is like a nanny, like a live-in nanny position. It's not that. She ends up essentially kind of taking care of these monsters and the incompetent men that can't take care of the monsters themselves. To be fair, 2 of the young men are like children, so it's like not their job to like take care of the house and like clean and all that kind of stuff, but whatever. This book was, I think, a debut, and it definitely read that way. There were some like little plot story moments that I'm like, oh, this feels like a debut, because I feel like I read stuff similar in like very young YA when I was younger, or in fan fiction when I read a lot more fan fiction than I do today. I still love fan fiction, and that's not like a dig, but there are just some things that I see in like first time writers on like fan fiction websites that I saw here. But I guess like the most distinct thing that I saw that I think did not strike well with me was very little building of any aspect of this book. The setting, the characters, the relationships. Personally, because I've seen, I feel bad because I was looking at reviews and there's only like 30 reviews. It's not like the most popular book, so I felt bad like giving it like a 2-star rating on Goodreads. But this is just like my opinion, but I did not care for any of these characters. There's only one relationship that I feel like had a good start and I could see where it goes from here, and it's our main character and one of the younger boys of the house. I think his name is Ryan, and it came out to like almost maybe like a future like big sister auntie vibe with the two of them, and that's not even like the most important relationship of the book. It's not even the second most or the third most or the fourth most important relationship in that book. It's literally like a handful of pages that where these two characters are interacting that I thought, oh, like this is actually well done. I like this part of the book, but for the most part it wasn't very good. It felt like all of a sudden our main character was besties with one of the son, and I don't think there was really a lot of romance to consider this like a romance book. I would consider this fantasy with like a side of romance. There is like explicit content sprinkled throughout the book, but for the most part I really didn't get at least the romance between our main character and her love interest. It was, I don't know, it was a whole lot of suddenly they're into each other kind of vibes. This book also did that thing that I used to see in like old like Twilight fan fictions. Not saying that this author wrote Twilight fan fiction or anything, but it's like alternate universe canon divergence. When Edward left Bella, instead of becoming like a comatose person, she becomes like a badass, and that's kind of like what happened here. Our main character got hurt by someone, and she puts on like a corset, someone gives her a knife, and all of a sudden she's like a badass. And it's like, okay, well, where'd she come from? Yeah, I just felt like nothing was developed well. Some of the dialogue did read a little like 2010s like Tumblr vibes, and it would kind of like jump around in terms of like the tone or the vibe that the author was trying to give. Sometimes I feel like she was trying to give like cozy, whimsy, like in a secluded mansion type vibes, and then other times I thought she was going for like an Alice in Wonderland type of surreal vibe where nothing is explained at all, but it's okay because it's surreal and it doesn't have to be literal. I feel like it jumped around between those two vibes a lot. This is like a contemporary / modern setting. It technically takes place in like a, light spoilers, but like a pocket dimension almost, which is not that's not really explained well at all. To be honest, the characters don't understand how this pocket dimension works, so we don't get to really understand how it works until they get to. So it's fine if like the setting's not well described, but alongside the characters and the relationships and any kind of magic, there's just like a lot of, I feel like this author had ideas in her head but did not actually put them to paper. It really felt like we were just going from plot point to plot point without like sitting down and like letting some of these things grow before we move on to the next point. I wouldn't say rush, it just felt very bare to me. When I opened up the ebook on my Kindle app or on my Kindle, it tells you how long it's going to take you to read the book depending on how fast you do read, and this one said it would take a little over 3 hours, which I thought, that's great, like it's a quick book, but it felt twice as long as the previous book, which took me a little over like 6 hours to read. Even though it was like half as long, or like it would have taken me half as long to read, it felt like twice the work. Literally, I only had like 30 minutes left for the past 2 days, and I just like did not want to get back into it because I felt like killing my vibe, and I immediately after finishing the book had to go and start on something immediately, which would be like the next book in this vlog. So yeah, I didn't have a great time. I would never like say no one should ever read this, but I don't think you're missing out if you don't. If you want to read it, go for it. I'm not gonna like stop people from reading it, so that's why I didn't give it like a 1 star. I pretty much like skimmed the last 30 minutes, so it was tough. I know what happens, but I just was not interested at all. So the next book that I will be picking up is, I don't like this angle anymore. The next book that I will be picking up, my hair is wild today. The next book I will be picking up is called Chosen by the Alien Warrior. I thought it'd be fun to switch between sci-fi and fantasy. I believe this is about a soldier in some alien army or something, and the morale has been low because they're like stuck doing like monotonous tasks. So they kind of start a companionship program with like human women. It sounds ridiculous, sure, but hopefully it's like fun. That's pretty much all I know about this book. I hope it does well. Peace out. Oh, you don't want to get a, oh, there's the butt. Okay, well, you guys are not getting the best clips of me in this vlog, but I don't care. You guys don't watch me for what I look like. Anyways, I just finished my third book, which was Chosen by the Alien Warrior by Skyla Stone. This one started off so well, you guys. I was so disappointed with like about halfway through I had issues, and then like the last 30 to 45 minutes I was like, whoa, what's happening here? So this book is about a young woman who joins this partnership program where human women are sent to a different planet to be companions to soldiers whose morale is down on this alien planet with these alien men who are like vaguely humanoid with like horns and stuff, a little bit bigger or whatever, but they're aliens. And our main character signs up. She's not like super excited about the idea, but she knows that she doesn't really have a lot of prospects back on Earth, so she's like, why not? They're gonna pay me. So her and her best friend and a bunch of other human women, they go to this planet, and like the first thing that they do is essentially like this really quick like speed dating round where they get to meet all of the soldiers who are up for like partnerships, and that's pretty much like the start of the story. It goes on from there, romance, whatever. It started off well, and any issues that I had at the beginning, I thought they would be resolved quickly, but the two main things that I had a problem with are our female main character. And I never say this because it's so like not constructive to the story, to the writing, or whatever. I try not to critique an author's choices with characters, like how they want their characters to be portrayed. I try not to critique on like where the story goes, like if they want a story to have like certain plots or themes or whatever. That's up to the author. Whether or not they do it well, that's for me to critique, or that's what I want to critique. But from the get-go, our female main character, and I hate to say this, was a frigid bitch. Like, I would hate her. I would hate having to talk to her, and I try not to like be so down on the women, like in general, in any aspect of my life. I try to give more grace to women, but she was just really rude from the get-go. It was very weird. I didn't get why, like when they were doing their little speed dating thing, our main character goes up to her and he's like, hello, and she says something like super like snooty. She's like, oh, is that your idea of like breaking the ice? Why are you mad? Like, why are you already like so abrasive? Like, and we read her POV, like she's one half of the story. She doesn't have any valid reason to be like angry or annoyed. Like, is she like out of her element in a new planet? Yes. But I don't know why that immediately translates for her to like be super rude. Like, anytime this nice man, and he's not pushy for her at all, he's very kind, he gives her space, he doesn't talk to her unless she initiates conversation. Anytime he kind of has a moment to talk to her, like she's so rude. Like, she just says like the meanest things, and I'm like, whoa, like she's literally just like a bitch for no reason. And I didn't get why, like what part of the story, like it's not like she was forced to do this, like she volunteered for this and she's gonna get paid for it, presumably. Yeah, it was just a very weird character from her, and I think towards the end the author kind of tried to give her a reason to like be mean, but like from the get, literally when he said hello, she was like, okay, time to be a bitch about it, I guess. It was super weird and super jarring to read from, and I don't mind enemies to lovers if there's like a reason for them to have like animosity, but there was nothing to be pissed off about. Like, I don't get it. So yeah, that was very weird. I don't get where the characterization was coming from. And the second thing that was, I just didn't really like, the author literally within like the last 45 minutes of the book, time to introduce like a rebellion storyline, and our main character, who's been so annoyed this entire book, like ignoring her friends, being all about me, this is so like, I'm so whiny, my life is terrible. She like jumps into this this is kind of a spoiler, by the way. Spoiler, there's a little bit of like a rebellion plotline. She kind of like jumps into it and she's like, yeah, sure, I'll join the rebellion. And it's like, you don't really give a shit about anyone else but yourself. Like, why do you want to join the rebellion? And so we deal with that at the end, which is kind of out of left field. I don't mind a rebellion. I do love it in like my fantasies, but you kind of have to sprinkle it in. I'm sure this government, this military system that they live under is like bad, but I haven't seen it. Like, you haven't told your readers like why this military is so bad. We're kind of given like an excuse at the end, like, oh, we need to rebel because of this one reason. It's like, sure, that would be fine, but like, I had no idea that this was coming. This was really weird. And then like one pet peeve, I talked about it before in like a wrap up, I want to say, but I hate so much in fantasy sci-fi romances. I see this a lot when our female main character has given no indication that she can shoot a gun, can do close combat, can shoot lasers, can fight with a sword, can use a lightsaber, run a fucking 5K or something. No indication that she can do anything physically, like, you know, she's like a tough girl. All of a sudden, when it comes to like having to like put bodies on the front line, she's like, I can do it, I can volunteer. And people are like, no offense, but like, you're smart, but we don't need you on the front line, like move out of the way. And she's like, you'd be surprised what I can do to take care of myself. That's so cringy to me. I'm sorry, it's so cringy to me because I've seen this character and she doesn't do anything physically. Like, I don't know, she doesn't do, like, literally at the beginning of this book, when she was taking her physical, the nurse was like, you don't even weigh 100 pounds soaking wet. And she's like, that's what they tell me. But now you want to do missions? Make it make sense. Anyways, I'm giving this a 2-star. Just character story stuff I had issues with. It is better than the last one, but this one pissed me off more than the last one, so it's a toss-up of which one I dislike more. So the next book I'm gonna read, I think it's called Flint. I forgot who wrote it. I'll put the picture right here so we can see. I think it's called Flint. It's about a woman who's running away from her old pack, her old alpha, and I think an abusive alpha. I don't know if this entails like ABO dynamics, but I've already read one in this vlog, so why not another? Or if it's just like your standard like alpha of a pack. They're shapeshifters. I think she's like a wolf shifter, but she gets to this like small town that's kind of like protected by like a shifter, like bear shifter motorcycle gang. It's also like 2:30 in the morning, so that's why it looks bad right now. So peace. Hi everyone, so I did finish the 4th book of this vlog, which was Flint by Eva Kent. And this one was like much better than the last 2. I don't know if I'd like it more than the first, but this is like a standard kind of shifter romance. And this one we follow a young woman named Layla who's running away from a very abusive situation. Her wolf alpha has been verbally, physically, and sexually abusive to her, so she runs away. She just keeps running east until she lands in a very small town that is the home of a bear shifter group / motorcycle club. That's like their like day job or whatever, and it's like a romance, so you know what's gonna happen. I think there was like a very light ABO dynamics in this one, but much less than the first one. It's like more so like standard like shifter pack vibes as opposed to like alpha beta omega stuff. I think there's like hints of that at the beginning, but nothing super like wild or anything. It was very short. This one was pretty much about the same length, or at least it took me around the same time to read this one and like Sons of Echidna, for example, around a little over 3 hours. But this one was to the point, but unlike Sons of Echidna, this one did throw in a little bit to kind of keep me immersed in this world and keep me help me kind of understand like who these characters are, the setting, what they do. Like, for example, I have a good idea of like some of the members of like the alphas pack, like the bear alphas pack. Like, I know who he gets along with. I know like the vibe he has with like his father, his background. We even get to hear like a little bit about this woman who's part of this this city, and she wants to be part of like the motorcycle club, but like some of the elders are like, no, she's a woman. But our like alpha our hero, our love interest is like, but she's like just as good as like the guy, so like I would invite her or whatever. Like little things like that help like build the entire story. We get to learn a little bit about our character besides like the fact that she's like an abused woman, but the story still kept a pretty quick pace, so it was short, but I got what I wanted. So I'm giving it like 3.5 stars. That's not a bad rating. I just don't think it's like phenomenal, the best thing I've ever read, but it was entertaining, it was fun, it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. Like if you're in the mood for like a shifter romance, I think this is exactly what you think it would be. I only have one more book that I want to read for this vlog because I already have like an idea for another video, and I don't like doing multiple videos at once, to be honest. Yeah, I think the book that I'm gonna read next is called A Spirited Manor by Kate Delaney. I think this is a slightly older read, but I still got it during the Stuff Your Kindle event, and it's about a woman, I think, whose husband has died, and so she joins like a seance, and some things go a little bit wrong. So it's supposed to be like gothic-y vibes, which is very different than anything else in this vlog, so I think that would be like a good book to end on. Very different. So I will update when I have an update. So I did finish the last book for this vlog. I did end up picking up A Spirited Manor. This is typically a book I'd want to pick up if I wasn't really in the mood for like a huge romance, but I wouldn't mind if it was a subplot. This wasn't predominantly a romance. The romance really came about in like the last 30 minutes or so. Also, this is more of a novella. It was only 100 and something pages. My Kindle app actually told me this was only a little over like an hour read, I want to say. Maybe like an hour and 30. The last 30 minutes, that's still a big chunk of the book, but it's also a novella, so it doesn't really feel super fulfilling. And nothing really major happen in regards to the romance, because our main character is getting over the loss of her husband. Her husband's been dead for a few months, and she meets someone who kind of invites her to a seance, and she's not super into like the spiritual, but part of her kind of wants to because of her husband who's passed away. And then a bunch of stuff happens and people are dying, and it is like paranormal, supernatural romance, but I personally would not categorize this as like romance. But this is something that is still up my alley. Like, this is mystery, this is paranormal, this is historical setting, which I love. But the romance was like a subplot. Like, I'm kind of like, I feel like I'm questioning myself whether or not I actually got this for the Stuff Your Kindle event, because the romance is so not a big part of the story as opposed to the other 4 books. But this is something that I would like, and it's a novella, I'm pretty sure. Like, I would not call this like a full-length novel. It's a novella. There's other books, and I would be interested in reading them because this was actually really fun. And this is like a series that, you know, this is a series that I've been like kind of looking for, kind of urban-y, supernatural, paranormal. But yeah, that pretty much concludes the vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been fun for me. I definitely need to knock out some of these Kindle books because I have a lot. These Stuff Your Kindle events really pack my Kindle, really, they do. Feel free to comment down below about anything that I've talked about. I like to hear anything you have to say down below. My social medias will also be linked down below, as well as some far more important links. Feel free to like, dislike, comment, or subscribe, or do neither. It's all cool with me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.